This is what I'm going to be modeling in this little mini series. I think it'll probably take us 2 videos to do this. Nothing is difficult to do, but there's a lot of parts and there's a lot of thinking about how we're going to achieve a particular shape. Basically though, the shapes are rectangles and circles modified in some way. And that's what you really should be doing, I think, when you approach your modeling, is thinking about what shapes you're going to use and how you are going to achieve a particular shape. As you can see, there are rectangles that are angled and beveled, and there are some cutaways, and there are some circular things. So what primitives are you going to start with, and how are you going to extrude them, and how are you going to bend them? And that's pretty much all that it takes, aside from having a reasonable reference. Now, I created this pretty much from my own imagination, and so it was a little bit harder, although again it is a relatively simple object, just with a lot of parts. Alright, so we're going to get started with this, and I'm providing some references for you. And the main reference we're going to be using for this is this front view right here. Okay, I'm calling this the OcuScan. So we're going to model against this, but then look at the other references to add the details. So over here in Blender, I've deleted everything else. My screencast keys are on, and my 3D cursor is right in the middle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in those references. I'm going to bring in the 3 references. I'm going to bring in the front one, I'm going to model against, and I'm just going to have the other ones a little smaller off to the side. Alright, so this is the main one. I'm going to press S3 and scale it up 3 times, and then I'm going to press G to grab or go. I'm not sure which one it is. And position it so my 3D cursor is pretty much at the bottom. We may have to move that. I'm going to press 3 to look from the side, and I'm going to pull it back a ways so it's not in our way. So there's the main reference, and of course it's called empty. I can turn it on and turn it off. I'm also going to bring in the other references. This one, and I'll just put that off to the side and scale it up a little bit. Doesn't matter how big, just so I can look at that when I need it. And I'll bring in that other one that I showed you, and I'll put that down as well. Alright, so like I said, we'll model against this one, and then if I need to, I can come just look at those. I could easily just switch back to these, but this is, I don't know, kind of a simple way of doing things. Alright, so let's get started with the modeling and see how we can do this. So I'm going to press Shift-A, Mesh, Plane. I'm going to go into Edit mode. I'm going to scale this. And I can see that my model is a little bit off. I'm going to rotate this like that, and then I can move this a little bit and center things a little bit more. Scale this. It's not going to be perfectly, on the reference, but it'll be a little bit close anyhow. All right, into Edit mode and Z for wireframe. 2 for edge selection. I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to pull this up. Alright, so there we go. We've got that. Now, this is all one piece, so I'm going to give this some thickness. I don't have a reference for how much to do that. I'm just going to do that part by eye. I'll just pull it back. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to select the front and look in wireframe again, and I'm going to press I to inset, and I'm going to pull in until I get this part right about here. I'm going to hold Shift to move a bit slower. Look from the side, and I'm going to pull it out like this. That's good enough. Alright, so I have this part here coming to the front. Alright, now I'm going to press I to inset again, and I come all the way in till I get this middle part. Now, the width seems to be working out roughly, but the length isn't, so I'm going to scale this in the Z. I'm looking at the top, then I'll have a look at the bottom. Yeah, okay, like about that. Now don't worry about this line here, that's an indent there. Deal with that later. So I've got that part there. All right, let's go back into solid view, and we're going to extrude this back in. So let's just see. Yeah. Okay, let's just extrude it in. Let's bevel this part now. Let's press 2 for edge selection, Shift Alt and click here, and here, and here, and here. I'm going to look in wireframe, and I'm going to go Control B and pull, and sort of match the curvature, and then roll my mouse up. 1, 2, 3. So I have a total of 5 edges in there. And this is what we have. All right. Now we're going to do a bit more beveling to get some roundness on this thing, as you can see. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and bevel the back. So Shift Alt and click that edge and Control B and pull. I'll use the same number of segments, make it nice and round. And let's do this here. And this here. Let's see what that's looking like. All right. Let's go in and Shift Alt and click there. And let's do the same thing. I'm not exactly looking at the diagram for this. I just know I want it something like that. All right, so we have this part coming in, and then we have that. And let's go ahead and do this angled piece there. And I think the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come into the model and press 3 for face selection and select that, and Shift S, cursor to selected, and bring my 3D cursor there. Now I'm going to bring in another plane, rotate X 90, let's scale it out to here, and scale it in the Z, so it pretty much fits. All right. I'm going to pull that forward just a little bit, and I'll scale it a bit, and we can adjust the size. I just want it to fit in that space. I'm going to press I to inset, come down, maybe I'll scale out in the X and just sort of match the diagram a bit more. Alright, so I've done that. Alright, I'm going to pull that piece out. And really, I think I should just focus on that piece itself. All right, so let's come back out. Let's go into solid view. Just this face. And I've got just the outline right there. All right. Okay, that roughly fits. So now I need to give this some thickness. So let's just focus on that. And we'll work on the thickness. So I'm going to press E and Alt S, and I'm going to pull. And I probably should be looking at the diagram now that I think about it, so I will come back. Look at the front, Z and wireframe. And that's probably going to actually be okay, what I've done there. All right, so I'm going to focus on it again. And the only thing is, as you can see, these edges are not coming out straight. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click those edges and look from the side. I'm just going to pull them till they're pretty much flat. And there we go. Now this, I'm going to scale in the Z a little bit. Just make it a little bit more even. There we go. Now I'm going to Shift Alt and click these edges, and I'm going to round these. But I will come back and bring everything back and look from the front and somewhat match this curve. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's the same number of segments, just like that. Okay. Shift Alt and click these edges here, and Control B, pull just a little bit, a bit of a bevel. I might consider coming in here in wireframe, box selecting this, and just pulling it out a little bit more. I'll come back and I'll look and I'll see. want it to come out a nice amount like that. Okay, does that look rounded enough? All right. There is this edge here that separates what looks like the front from the rest of it. And I'm going to work on that. So let's come over here and Control R to bring an edge that can bring it pretty close to the front. Then I'm going to Control B and pull, but roll my mouse back to 0 just to have a space like this. E and Alt S, and I'm going to pull down or push to make it go in. All right, and Shift Alt and click these edges and Control B pull, and I'll roll my mouse up and have a couple of edges in there. So I will get this. And if I want to, I can come back here and I can take an edge and I can GG, I can slide it back a little bit. I can slide some of these back to sharpen this up. Like this. Keep pressing G twice. And this one. And I can get that a little bit tighter. That's going to be just fine. Okay, what else do we need to do? We need to work on this cutaway here and these indents. So let's do that. My 3D cursor is still right in the middle, so I'm going to bring in another plane. Rotate X 90, Z for wireframe, pull it up. I'm going to select this edge and pull it up. Select it all in SX and pull it out. Just like that. Press 1 for vertex selection, and we're going to bevel. Shift Control B now to bevel vertices. Pull, and I want 5 vertices in there, and I'll make this shape. A to select it all. Pull it out a little bit. I'll come back into solid view. Pull it out quite a bit actually, and I'm going to extrude it back. Now, those polys are probably flipped. You can see everything is actually red. So I'm going to select it all, Alt N, recalculate outside. All my polys were flipped. And that's what we need to check periodically. All right, let's bring that in and push it into the main body. And I can always hide that piece there. All right, doesn't really matter how far it's gone in. We can always adjust that. So we're going to do a Boolean to make this thing. Select the main body, come over here, choose Boolean on difference with the eyedropper, select that, and apply. Let's take that and hide it. We might use it again later. So, a little bit hard to see. From this angle, you don't even see that edge there. So we're going to bevel this. So go into Edit Mode, and into Edge Selection, Shift and Alt, and click the edge and see if you can get it all the way around. Make sure you don't have anything else selected. And if you happen to have something selected like that, just deselect it. Control B and pull. I'll have the same number of edges, a nice big bevel. Now you can see it from all angles. It catches light. So we got that piece. Alt H. And I have that. I'm just going to move that down in Edit Mode and wireframe and see if I can use that for this piece. Let's pull that in just a little bit. And box select this and pull it in just a little bit, and then box select just those vertices and pull it up. I think we could use it for this piece here. Pull it down like that. Okay. However, this piece is just an indent. It's just a space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select there. So I'm going to press Control I, X faces, and that will leave me just the one face that I want. Pull it out a bit. With that face selected, I'm going to press I to inset and pull in just to make a small indent like that. X faces. All I want is the outline right there like that. That piece there. I'm going to press E to extrude and come back. A, Alt N, recalculate outside. I'm going to pull that into the body. Doesn't have to go in too deep, but I do want it into the body, like that. Select the main body, choose Boolean, difference with the eyedropper. Select that plane and apply. I'm going to get rid of that now. And I've got this. Let's go into edit mode. And here we have to carefully try our best. I'm going to go into edge selection to select just the edge going around. It wasn't too bad. We just had a little bit of trouble up at the top. And Booleans can be like that. I don't want to have any of these other edges selected. Control B, pull. I'm actually going to roll back to 0 and then 1, maybe 2. I may have missed a little spot. I did. So we have to be careful about that. Let's try that again. And then we'll come out and look at it. So we have just that indent in there. So we've got that. We have another indent to do, and I'll do that with a new plane. Rotate X90, bring it down, scale it. It's not quite centered. I'll go ahead and move this to match the diagram a bit more. It doesn't really matter. No one's going to notice. Press 1 for vertex selection, Shift Control B to bevel, pull, and again I want to have, I roll back to 0, 1, 2, 3. I know it's hard to see. Alright, I should have 5 vertices in there. It's a little bit tight. I'm going to press I to inset, pull in again, just a little bit, and then X faces. So I just have the border like that. Extrude it back a ways to give it some thickness. Select it all. It's going to be flipped. Alright, so that's why I keep selecting it all, Alt-N, recalculate normals, and recalculate outside. Push that in. Another Boolean. A lot of Booleans in this model. Difference. Dot. There it is. You're going to have to bevel those edges in order to see them better. Shift Alt and click the outer and the inner edge. Have a look around. Looks pretty good. Let's bevel. Control B, pull. I'm going to roll back 1. And we have that. Okay. Alright, it's coming along. Alright, let's see. Let's go ahead and make the buttons now. Alright, another plane. Rotate it. Scale it in until it's just a little bit bigger than the buttons. We can adjust this. And let's right click, subdivide. And let's bring that up to 2. We can scale the whole thing down now, S to scale. And just sort of outline those buttons. Something like that. They don't have to be the exact same size. So this is what we have. And then press I to inset. I'm going to press I again. And so that was I twice. And now we can get the individual buttons. Pretty much like that. Now let's just E to extrude. Pull them out a ways. You decide. I'll go back into solid view. And now we're going to press Control plus to grow our selection so we have just the buttons there. 3 for face selection. And then Control I to select anything other than the buttons. X faces. And we've gotten rid of the faces. Alright, just like that. Now, I'm going to add a bevel to these. Bevel, 3 and 0.02, I think. Alright, let's come in and select in face selection that face and this face. Control E, bridge edge loops, turn on merge, and then X, dissolve edges to get rid of that. Now I'm going to focus just on the buttons for a moment. Come around to the back, and I'll have this extra edge here. That didn't go, so I'm going to X edges, get rid of that. I want to use these to punch a hole into that other surface, so I'm going to select them all and actually put a back face to do a Boolean. And I just have to come around here. I have to make face. slash key. So we're going to take all these buttons, so A to select it all, push them into here, nice and far. And we use those to cut into this. All right, select the main body, Boolean difference, select the buttons, apply, take this, hide that, and we now have a space. Now I'm going to come in here, and I'm actually going to select, I think, the bottom, and Control plus all the way up so to there. So I have one face, essentially, multiple faces going downwards. I'm going to delete those faces, and the reason I want to keep this one is so that I can bevel the outsides. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click, but I'm going to need to go around and make sure that I've got the entire edge on all these buttons. So I'm just going to start selecting, make sure I'm going to get everything. I may have to go back. That's looking good. This one, I do not want that. Let's go here and here. Let's just quickly do it, and then we'll have a closer look. Do I have all the pieces, especially in the corners? Do I have anything extra? You can always do it and test it and see. I'm just going to turn to the side and Control B, pull. It's looking okay, unless I'm missing something. And I have that. Alt H, bring the buttons back. Now, look from the front, go into edit mode, select them all, and switch to individual origins, and then S to scale. And that'll scale them all individually and leave me with a little bit of a space in behind. Like that. Let's turn on the cavity shader now and the shadow and see how it's looking. We should also select it all. Alt N, recalculate outside just in case. We'll get to the shading of this in a little bit. All right, it's looking good. So I don't need the shadow for the moment. Right. All right, let's do this little cutaway here. Let's bring in a plane, rotate X90. I'm just going to pull this over, scale it, and we'll get that shape going. I'm going to pull it up. Grab this edge, pull it down. Grab this edge, pull it over. Same thing with this one. All right, select it all. One for vertex selection, Shift Control B, pull, and we'll go for, we've got 4 in there, 3, 4. I'm going to do 5. That's my favorite for most bevels. Extrude it back like that. Alt N, recalculate outside. Okay. Push it into the body and do yourself another bevel. Boolean, sorry. I don't need this anymore. Bevel that edge. In edge selection, Shift Alt and click. Have a look at what's selected. Control B. Now it looks great. Save. Okay, bolts are easy to do, that stuff. Okay, let's have a look at doing this stuff here. And then I think that'll be good for this video. It'll take us a couple of videos to do this. So, let's select this face here. Shift S, cursor to select it. Let's Shift A, mesh, cylinder. Okay, so it's going to be a cylinder, and be putting a subdivision surface, so I think 18 is going to be okay. I really don't need the tops, so we'll put nothing. Let's scale it down a bit and rotate Y90, and then look at the diagram, the reference, just pull it down, go into wireframe, and S to scale, and just start matching the size of that pretty much. Good enough. Let's grab this edge, the whole edge, and pull it out just a little bit under. Actually, I think I want it a bit bigger. Hold Shift to go slower. And I'm going to pull to here. And then I'm going to press 1 for vertex selection, E and S, and come in. I can see my vertices, E, and come out. And this piece will have a hole in it to accept this pipe. So I'm going to turn this and look in solid viewing. Press E, come in a little bit, E, and come down a little bit. Now I don't know how much, so I'm not worried about that. Let's bevel these edges. 2 for edge selection, Shift Alt and click all these edges. And in fact, I'm going to do this one too. Control B, just pull. I just want the original 2 segments and 1 more. And I'm going to put Control 1, which is 1 subdivision surface on there. Now I'm going to do the other part of the pipe, this part here. So I'm going to select it all and Shift S cursor to select it to bring the 3D cursor there, and then bring in a plane, and we'll make a curve out of this. 1 for vertex selection and merge at center. E to extrude and pull out to about here, where it's going to go up straight. E, I'm going to come up, and let me just think for a second here. That's close. That's good enough for now. Let's round this. Select that vertex. Shift Control B and pull. There's 3. I want 4, 5, like that. Give them a bit of space. All right. Take that. Right click, convert to curve, and in the curve dialog box under geometry, bevel depth, just hold down Shift and start pulling until you feel it pretty much matches the diagram, and it kind of fits in there. That's fine. You can shade smooth if you want to. Doesn't really matter. We're going to do that in a bit. Okay, so we got that. So we're going to convert that to a mesh to work on it further. Come up to resolution and change that to about 4 so it's not too dense, and then convert to mesh. You can see it's now a mesh. Okay, I'm going to Control R, bring in an edge loop and straighten it by SX0 and pull it to here. I'm going to do another one up here, and then scale Z0 and pull it to about there. Alright, now I'm going to Shift Alt and click right there in face selection, E and Alt S, and I'm going to pull till I get that smaller diameter. So I will have to adjust the size of the hole here. And I'm going to take these ones, deselect first, Shift Alt and click these ones, E and Alt S and pull, and make them a little smaller. It doesn't have to exactly match the diagram. Let's go back into solid view, and you'll see we've got some extra pieces here. So in face selection, Shift Alt and click, just delete those faces. And there's more in there. Faces, okay. Good enough. Now we'll come over here and we'll bevel these edges. Shift Alt and click those edges. And just watch, just Control B, pull. I just want like 1 segment in there, 1 or 2. I'm going to put on a subdivision surface. I'll probably need an edge loop there and here just for shading purposes. So now I'll go Control 1. I might use 2. We'll see. All right. I'm going to come in here and in wireframe, deselect everything else and grab this and just pull it out a little bit. I want to make these threads, and I don't really care that it matches a diagram, so I'm going to Control R, roll my mouse up, 3, pull, roll back to 0, and just decide how wide you want your thread. You can do it numerically here if you want, but I don't care. E and Alt S and push. And it's not quite how thread would be, but it's sort of, so good enough. I'm going to do the same over here. I'll do 3, and Control B, just make them nice and wide so they're nice and visible. Again, it's a little cartoony, but that's what I like. All right, I'm going to make this a smaller diameter. So I need to come in here and in face selection, Shift Alt and click the edge and Control plus to grow my selection. I'm going to go to about there. I'm going to scale, but not in the X. I don't want it coming in or coming out. S, scale, Shift X and pull. And it doesn't have to be super tight. I might not have needed that. That's good enough. Alrighty, beautiful. So we have that so far. And, I don't know how ridiculous it looks sticking out 3 threads worth. I might push it in a bit, but we'll see. So now we have this part here. So to do that, I think I'll just come in and grab a circle from this. I just want a straight one. This one should be straight. Shift D, I'm going to pull it up, and S to scale it out. P to break it out, so it's a new object. I'll just scale it a bit more. Now bring it down to about here. Extrude up like this to the top. Okay, so I want this pipe to fit in here, so I'm going to select there, E and S. Now, because it's the subdivision, it's going to get a little funny. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to E and come up a little bit. Drag down an edge loop near the bottom. and we'll put an edge loop out here and in here, and that should be okay once I shade smooth. Might even be a little bit too sharp. And then we have that piece there, so let's do this. We'll do it all as one piece for now. E and S will come in, and before I do anything else, let's bring an edge loop to support it. And I'm going to extrude down in like that, and we'll fix this end up, and then we'll look at that other top, I guess. Let's go ahead and shade smooth and see how it looks. Okay, again, it's only got one subdivision on it, so we may be going up to 2. Let's Shift D and duplicate that edge, P and break it out. And look at this and say, okay, what if I make it smaller? Pull it in, E and come out, E and S come out a bit, E and come up. So again, it's a little bit off the diagram. I'm just going to cap that off. Control B, pull, roll my mouse up a couple of times. All right, bring an edge loop down, bring an edge loop up. I'll shade smooth. I'll grab this edge and pull it down a little bit more. Put a bit of thread on this. I'm just going to do 2. Control B, pull, but roll back to 0. In fact, I'm going to move these up a little bit, and then E and Alt S. And I guess I'm coming out. And that's probably okay like that. Again, you know, do I want to go up to 2? And I'm not worried about polys as the static image. Maybe I'll go up to 2 on all of these things. This one really didn't need it, but okay, so we have that. In fact, this piece and this piece can be joined. Control J. In fact, it can all be joined. I take it all back, and really, it could be split. You know, for separate materials, if you needed to do that. I'll just do that for now, and then we'll select the main. Select something central like that. All right, so the 3D cursor is there. And then just take this and set the origin to the 3D cursor and mirror this. All right, let's switch over to a different matte cap, maybe this one, and turn the shadow on and turn everything else off and see how we're liking our work. The only thing is, it looks maybe like those are flipped. Yep. There we go. That's better. So this is what we've got so far. Well, I should go to a different matte cap and that. In fact, I'm going to switch this to both. Up this. And let's make it look a little cooler. We do need to work on the smoothing, and I'll do that just to end the video. And we'll come back and we'll do some more modeling. All right, so for this, I'm going to right click and shade smooth, and it may look a little off, so I'm going to add a weighted normal, and under normals, auto smooth, and that's changed some. So let's do the same thing there and make sure we've got on our weighted normal and our auto smooth. This stuff's got subdivision, it won't need it. And these, I should put it on. I've got that bevel, so weighted normal and auto smooth. Didn't seem to really need it. Here's our model. It's looking pretty tight. There's more to do, but that's it. Lots of nice little details in there. Okay? Cool. So if you're following along, hope I didn't go too quick. Otherwise, hope to see you in the next video where we'll do some more. Thanks for watching.